An hour each week to worship the holy, to come together as a community and to refresh our souls. So let us consecrate this hour with the spirit of devotion and an attitude of reverence. May we find in this sacred hour the grace to love ourselves, to love this beloved community and our wider world. May the holy meet us in this place and guide our hearts and souls in our search for truth and understanding. Welcome to our time of worship. Welcome to Tapestry, this great community. Now we have something a little unusual for this morning's Time for All Ages. Caitlin is going to come up and talk with us about the RE program and the amazing teachers that we have here.
Good morning. I'm Caitlin Riva. I'm the Director of Religious Education here at Tapestry. We've had a wonderful year in RE, thanks to the dedicated volunteers who help out in the classroom and the parents who continue to prioritize religious education on Sunday mornings. There's so many other things that pull people away, but I'm so glad that you guys come here every Sunday, and thank you. On Sunday, while most of you are in here listening to the sermon, our children and youth are in the classroom discerning their own truths. But they are not alone. They are accompanied by wonderful and caring teachers, assistants, and helpers who strive to bring worship, faith, and meaning into the classroom. Today, the Children, Youth, and Religious Education Committee and I want to recognize and celebrate these people who work to make RECE a welcoming, fun, rewarding experience. So the kids, if you guys will come up to help me, the children and youth, please. They've made personalized mugs for all of our volunteers and personalized cards. Oh, is this the one you made? All right. Not all of our volunteers are here today. If Keith, you'll please stand for Kathy, okay? And then if Ian, if you'll also take Chanel's. You take two, okay. So I can get everybody there that I possibly can. So I'm gonna call the names, and when they stand up, you guys, you can pick a couple mugs and hand them out, okay? Does that make sense? Yes? Okay. And we'll applaud after everybody stands and they get their mugs. So Amanda Wainwright, who did our Easter party, Chanel Olivo-Reed, Cherish Jones, Chris Amatuzzi, Christine Kruger, Dave Weber. So stand up and stay standing till you get your mug. Ellen Chichin, Elisa Amatuzzi. I only see one person standing. Okay, good. Ian Olivo-Reed, Jan Meslin, Jane Stephen, Jay Lickfit, Jenny Ellsworth, John Wainwright, Kara Lickfit, Kathy Twaman Lenny, Karen Nichols, and she's our youth advisor, Christy Grant, Liz Bear, Liz Rickett, Marley Chen, Marcia Medina, Molly Stelovich, Paul Colas, Ruth Colas, Scott Noonan, and Vernie Gallagher. All right, not all of them are here today, but hopefully the ones that are here. If you haven't gotten your mug, make sure you raise your hand so the kids can find you. Liz still needs one back there. And it does sound like we have a lot of volunteers, which is true, but we need more. We need 7 every Sunday, which ends up being quite a lot. So, and we try to just have people do it once a month so they can hear the sermons as well. So if you're interested in volunteering in RE, you can come talk to me. So let's give them a round of applause. All right, and another volunteer I'd like to recognize is Grayson Gothard. Grayson, if you could come up here first. So last year, the middle school youth decided that they wanted a sort of youth support group that was youth-led, and Grayson was in charge of that group. It's called Faith and Flapjacks, and so that's what was formed, and they meet monthly, and Grayson volunteered and led that group every month for the last year, and he'll be graduating, and so we want to thank him so much for giving his time. That's for you. And so we wish, thank you for your service, and we wish you the best year at college, and come back to visit us. So thank you, Grayson, and Miranda will be taking over Grayson's job leading the Faith and Flapjacks class, which is awesome, so good job. And that is it for today. So the kids and I can go to our classes, and we will see you after the service.
Our reading this morning comes in the form of a poem from the Unitarian minister Richard Gilbert. He writes, "Be gentle with one another. It's a cry from the lives of people battered by thoughtless words and brutal deeds. It comes from the lips of those who speak them and the lives of those who do them. Who of us can look inside another and know what is there of people and hurt or promise and pain? Who can know from what far places each has come, or to what far places each may hope to go? Our lives are like fragile eggs. They crack and substance escapes. Handle with care. Handle with exceedingly tender care, for there are human beings within. Human beings as vulnerable as we are, who feel as we feel, who hurt as we hurt. Life is too transient to be cruel with one another. It's too short for thoughtlessness, too brief for hurting. Life is long enough for caring. It's lasting enough for sharing, precious enough for love. Be gentle with one another." Namaste. Amen and blessed be. As you are thoroughly aware by now, this month we're going to be talking about compassion. But this Sunday in particular, I thought I would talk a little bit about caring for loved ones through the process of illness and aging. Now, there are certain advantages to being a young minister, and there are disadvantages as well. One of the disadvantages is that my life experience doesn't include many of the things that older people have experienced or dealt with. I just haven't been down that road yet. But being a companion through illness and aging isn't something that I have personal experience with, but it's far too important of a subject for us to shy away from. Now, most of you have already had some experience like this. Nearly all of us will at some time in our lives care for another aging person, and I can guarantee you that each one of us will be the recipient of this kind of care, sooner or later. So I want to talk a little bit about how we might do this companioning gracefully. This is one of the most important lessons in life, I think, how to be a compassionate companion. There's no one perfect way of being compassionate, but being open to learning and growth is a whole lot more promising than attempting to hold on to the past. And the biggest challenge in this process may be maintaining a sense of hope in the process of aging and illness. Now, I have heard a description of hope that might be helpful for the discussion today. It says that hope isn't something that you have or don't have. Hope is something that comes into being, sort of like a path across a meadow. Hope is something that gets made slowly over time. It takes shape by putting one foot in front of the other, over and over and over again, until finally a way is worn. A way that seems like the normal way that anyone would go. Being a companion on the journey of aging reminds me a lot of this path. There are stages of illness and moments of life when the future is completely uncertain. It's unclear how you will make it through, but somehow a path gets made. It seems daunting and maybe even impossible at first, but then you find your way, one foot in front of the other, one step at a time, as you journey with a companion. Hope, I have learned, isn't the conviction that everything will be all right in the end. Hope is the assurance that you're doing what you can here and now to embrace life and love. It's not a matter of feeling or thinking, it's a matter of putting one foot in front of the other until a path is clear. Now, I first chose the word companion for this title because I like the alliteration, compassionate companion. But it fits the caregiving role in much better ways. Companion really seems like the best word for this type of caring relationship. Maybe you're caring for a spouse, a parent, or a grandparent. Maybe you're caring for a friend or even a child. The relationship in caregiving becomes very similar, regardless of what form it originally was. Because being a companion is about being there with someone through a change in life. It's a journey that you take together where neither person leads the way. As companions, you explore totally new territory together. Change happens throughout our lives, of course. We always move into new phases. Some of them are great. Some of them are utterly terrifying. I don't mean to diminish the fear and pain that often accompany aging, but it's a helpful reminder that other transitions were really hard too. There are a lot of scary firsts. Going to school for the first time, going to college, entering the work world and paying your own bills. Lives change as children come along. Talk about a daunting reality. And then there's retirement and aging. No one tells us what's right around the next corner. And to be honest, even if they did try to tell us, we probably wouldn't hear it very well. Over and over again in our lives, we shift to a different reality. We find that there's a new normal, and we adjust to that new normal. Some of those ways of being normal we never anticipated and couldn't have imagined until they became our own lives. When my own grandmother's health began to fail, it was well over 10 years ago now, my whole family began to settle into a very different, new way of being normal for us. It's fascinating how it can bring out a really unexpected side of a person. The tremendous new piece of normal that I saw at that moment was my brother suddenly became a caregiver. Now, my brother was the rebellious wild child that we were surprised he showed up at all. That's not true, that's harsh. But at the hospital, when everyone else was a wreck, he was able to be there and be calm. When everyone else was taking a grim picture of the future, he was able to see through that mess a little more clearly, to take one step at a time, and literally to make sure everyone was eating and sleeping. While my brother is an amazing father now, this was the first time I had seen anything resembling caretaker in him. As he took charge, seemingly out of the blue, I saw a completely different side of him. He found a new way of being, a way that none of us expected. And eventually, everyone in the family adjusted to the situation. Now, when my grandmother was debilitated with her stroke, she had been a babysitter for my entire generation, incredibly actively. And by that point, in her late 70s, she was taking care of the old people that were her neighbors in her apartment complex. But suddenly she was in a nursing home, a place that we knew that she dreaded being. Her life changed, and so did my mom's. For the next 3 years, my mother spent 2 or 3 hours a day in the nursing home. She was there nearly every day, charting a path toward hope. She put one foot in front of the other and did what she thought was right for her mother. It changed her life, and frankly, changed life for the rest of us as well. We didn't understand it. What was normal to her meant a pretty big change for us. We visited occasionally, but the idea of spending hours there just seemed so strange. Not to mention our mother, my dad's wife, had a completely new focus in her life. Being a companion through illness is very hard on those around you to understand. A good friend of mine recently went through this with his own family, his parents and their situation. His father has passed away last year. But at the time, his parents were living together as his dad was battling cancer. His cancer had consumed their lives and the household. And my friend went probably every other week to visit. He couldn't bear to visit more often. And I'll never forget him saying, because this is a good guy, this is my friend. I'll never forget him saying, "It's like a morgue over there. I don't know how she can stand it." That's because he hadn't been there, putting one foot in front of the other day after day. Life changes. What we consider normal changes, sometimes into something we never would have recognized as our own. And for those who aren't immediately part of that incremental change, it can seem sudden and bizarre. But for those in the midst of it, those companions on the journey, finding a new sense of normal is just what happens every day. Being in that companionship can deepen a relationship beyond measure. But it doesn't do very good things for the rest of your relationships. It can often lead to major isolation, but I want you to know that you're not alone. Those of you who have been companions, and I know it's a lot of you looking around, and those of us who will be, you're not alone. There are support groups and grief groups, and you are always welcome at Tapestry, no matter how you feel or how you look. Coming to church is not about presenting yourself in a particular way. Coming to church is about being surrounded by love. As a caregiver, you are not alone. Since the beginning of history, humans have done this for one another. It's sacred and timeless work. It's what makes us human in a way. While some people may not understand the hours given or the limitless commitment, you're in good company with others who are doing the same thing for people that they love. It can be isolating, and eventually it can wear you down, but everyone needs some slack. I'm sure that everyone, even Mother Teresa, had her off days. Days of short temper and annoyance. No one's asking for a superhuman strength. These days in my life, a lot of my friends are having children for the first time. It's been pretty eye-opening to watch as pretty well put together 30-somethings transform into sleep-deprived, diaper-changing lunatics. And that's just the beginning. It goes on for years. A few months ago, I helped with the parents' night out here, which admittedly was fun, but we had 12 preschoolers for 4 or 5 hours. It totally blew my mind. So what I see from these parents is that they deeply love their children, and they're absolutely exhausted. There are occasionally angry and impatient moments. And they need friends not to judge them as bad parents, but friends to say, "Amen." Just the same, companions, caregivers have taken on a tremendous commitment that undoubtedly leads to frustration and exhaustion. It's okay. No one is going to judge you for that. It's okay to say, "This is harder than I thought it would be," or "I'm tired," because what you're doing is heroic. Now, having a supportive community can help, and getting good information can also help too. A lot of us know Kathy Spahn as the caterer extraordinaire in her volunteer role at Tapestry, but she's taken on another volunteer role this year to be our congregational nurse. Kathy was a nurse for decades, many decades, in a few different settings. She's really knows a lot about illness and aging. I've seen her handle all sorts of questions about all different age groups. She's also going to help us to educate ourselves by bringing in some guest speakers to tell us about memory loss and Alzheimer's. So in a couple of weeks after the service, I hope you will stick around to learn about ourselves and to learn about caring for those around us. Being a companion through the aging process is not something you choose. It chooses you. And so you put one foot in front of the other. There's no other option. But I want to pause also to say thank you to those of you who continue to provide long-term care for someone in need. You are heroes. You may not have chosen this path, but somehow it became your normal. You never aimed to be a rescuer, but there you are. Whether you chose it or not, we say thank you for caring for loved ones. It's a part of the glory of being alive. In closing, I want to invite you to join me with a short visualization. It's nothing difficult. Just imagine in your mind's eye with me a meadow of tall, thick grass. It's gently blowing in the breeze on a warm day. I'm from Oklahoma, so that means it's about shoulder high. Tall grass. In that meadow is a walking path, not very wide, but deep enough that the dirt has been packed down. Deep enough that walking it would be comfortable and you wouldn't lose your way. For those of you who have already worn this path of hope, those compassionate companions, remember when all you had was a field of uncertainty. Remember when you didn't know how you would possibly do this much caring. We thank you for putting one foot in front of the other and for sharing with us a path of hope. And for those of us who haven't had the duty yet, may we remember that step by step, one foot in front of the other is the only way to get there. When our patience is strapped, when we feel lost in the wilderness, let us remember that we journey where others have tread before. And they made it, one step at a time. Whether we've been there or not, we are all going to need someone to walk gently with us. We will all need the support of compassionate companions at some point in our lives. May a way of hope and grace be found as we walk that journey together. Amen.
We extinguish this flame knowing that the light remains in the warmth and compassion of our hearts until we are together again.
Would you briefly take the hand of someone near you for these closing words? As we depart from one another, let our hearts be secure through every season. Let our hearts be secure in seasons of anguish as in seasons of joy, in seasons of failure as in seasons of success. Let our hearts be secure in this dual reality. We are worthy recipients of love and support that we can never earn. And we are worthy providers of love and support that others cannot earn. Let our hearts be secure. Now go in peace and let the light within you be a blessing to the world.